Today we're going to talk about Cambridge Audio's recently introduced EX series components. It's a premium line, a step up from their popular CX models with some tasty trickle down from their flagship Edge series. At this time, we've got the EXA100 integrated amplifier and the EXN100 music streamer. I think it's important to note from the beginning that these two pieces look and sound fantastic together. I used a stereo balanced XLR cable to connect them and drove Wharfedale Linton speakers on their matching stands, and I could listen all day and then some. I know I'm onto something nice when the sound engages me to cue up a wide range of tracks from Praetorius to Oscar Peterson to Big Star, and to be sad when something like a meeting or lunch pulls me away from listening. In more ways than one, the EXA100 and the EXN100 are made for each other, but they don't need each other. Either of these high-quality components makes a persuasive argument for itself in setups that only need one or the other of them. Let's talk about the amplifier first. Rated at 100 watts times 2 into 8 ohms, the EXA100 delivers more power than the CXA81 Mark II, and it does so with a lower noise floor. That's thanks partly to the huge toroidal transformer, which you can see through the top vent, and the amp's circuitry and internal components share lineage with the mighty Edge M monoblock. That helps give the sound precision, authority, and most importantly, musicality. It's got 4 unbalanced stereo RCA inputs and 1 balanced stereo XLR input. You can select these analog inputs as A1, A2, A3, and A4 on the front panel or with the remote. The A1 button lets you toggle between whatever you have connected to the unbalanced and balanced A1 channels. There's no dedicated phono input, maybe because Cambridge's Alva turntable has a preamp built in for its moving coil cartridge. Or they assume we'll appreciate being able to choose our own. In my case, I used my own preamp and my Project X2 turntable and got great sound. Digital inputs include 2 optical, 1 coaxial, and 1 USB Type-B for connecting a computer. That's good, better, and best in terms of playback resolution, with the USB input having the highest at 24-bit, 384 kilohertz. Unlike the CXA81 Mark II, it's got an HDMI eARC port for great 2-channel TV sound. There's also a mono output for a powered subwoofer, stereo RCA preamp output, a full-sized headphone jack, and power amp mode. That lets you switch out the preamp and connect an external one, like the EXN100, to the balanced or unbalanced A1 input. I like this versatility, and I like that there's no app control for the EXA100. Just plug it in, connect your sources, and start listening. Aside from the source and speaker selection buttons on the front panel, there's a big knurled volume knob that feels great with the perfect amount of resistance. All those controls on the EXA100 go out the window when you use it in power amp mode. To do that, you flip the recessed switch on the back of the amp and connect a preamp. With the EXN100 and other preamp streamers like the Bluesound Node Icon or WIM Ultra, you'll use the streamer's app to switch it into preamp or variable output mode. Now you're controlling the volume with your phone. I listened to the EXA-EXN pair both ways and developed a slight preference for the sound of the streamer in preamp mode and the amp in power amp mode. I was listening to the Red Norvo trio with Jimmy Rainey on guitar and Red Mitchell on bass, and I felt like I was hearing more space around the musicians and clearer articulation of the instruments running the EXA100 in power amp mode. As I mentioned, I used the balanced XLR connection for testing the EXA100 in both integrated amp and power amp modes. I don't think it's a stretch to say that the balanced connection is a big reason why you might be shopping in this price range. They deliver lower noise and greater dynamic range than unbalanced RCA connections. If you need a balanced connection, you might also take a look at the popular Rotel RA1572 Mark II, which specs out similarly and has a balanced XLR input, but doesn't have an HDMI input. But it does have a phono input and really nice high-fidelity sound. You could add HDMI to the Rotel if you already have or are going to add a streamer like the EXN100 or the Bluesound Node Icon. And for streaming, since the Rotel can't run in power amp mode, you'd be using your streamer's app to select and play music, but still need to use the Rotel's front panel or remote to control volume. If the balanced input doesn't matter to you, you might consider the similarly priced NAD C 399. Connect the streamer of your choice or get the MDC2 BlueOS module for $399 more. That adds wireless multi-room streaming and powerful app control, plus direct room correction, including the calibration mic. But again, no balanced XLR input. Okay, let's take a closer look at the EXN100 streamer. It's a lot like the CXN100, which means it's an audiophile streamer with balanced XLR and unbalanced RCA analog stereo outputs. versatile digital inputs, a full-color display on the front panel, and stellar control with Cambridge's StreamMagic app for Apple and Android mobile devices. It also uses the same great-sounding ESS Sabre 9028 Q2M DAC. The EXN100 also supports Google Cast and Apple AirPlay 2. Spotify Connect and Tidal Connect users can stream from directly within those apps. And built-in Bluetooth, sometimes it's the easiest way to go. The EXN100 is the streamer I chose to try to convince longtime Crutchfield editor Charlie to free his home hi-fi system from his physical medium-only listening. It worked. He bought one. At the time, Cambridge still hadn't introduced the AX line, though. The big upgrades when you step up to the EXN100 are its bigger screen, HDMI eARC input, and higher quality Bluetooth 5.0 with aptX HD encoding. There are also under-the-hood tweaks that include Nishinbo Muse's op-amp circuitry and internal component upgrades that Cambridge says will deliver better sound, and we're still under $2,000. So if you're on the fence between the EXN100 and the EXN100 and want to add great 2-channel TV sound, the inclusion of the HDMI input on the latter might decide for you. Or you might consider the less expensive Bluesound Node Icon, which also has balanced XLR outputs and an HDMI eARC input, and in a first for Bluesound, a full-color screen. Its high-res capabilities aren't as expansive. It doesn't have an asynchronous USB Type-B input like the EXN. But if wireless multi-room audio is important to you, the Icon is worth a look. The EXN100's multi-room capabilities are limited to AirPlay 2 and Google Cast, which works for tons of people. The Icon uses BlueOS, which gives you more powerful control, and for me, is a more stable and responsive multi-room streaming ecosystem. That said, if you don't care about whole home wireless streaming, you might prefer the StreamMagic app. I know I do, at least for searching and organizing your music. And that's the main thing, right? Let's talk about the app, since that's the main way you'll control the EXN100. I've tried a lot of different streaming control apps, and StreamMagic is one of the best, if not the best user interface I've experienced. I'm a fan. It gives you a bunch of choices for accessing and controlling music, including support for internet streaming services like Qobuz, Pandora, and internet radio. I'm a Qobuz user, and I appreciate that I can sort my favorites alphabetically by artist or title, and that it mimics the actual Qobuz app more closely than other streaming apps I've used. You can also play local tracks stored on a NAS drive, connect a computer directly via the rear panel USB input, or plug in a USB thumb drive loaded with tunes. They'll show up in the library section of the app alongside your streaming services. So, as I've said from the beginning, I've really enjoyed playing music on this system. And when you look at what else is available at this level, it's hard to beat the performance to value of either the EXN100 music streamer or the EXA100 integrated amp. And I think that as a step up from the CX line, these EX components really carry their weight. If you want to learn more about them, get in touch with us here at Crutchfield.